Hi there, folks. This is WP-Tonic, episode 97, and we're going to be talking about WordPress membership plugins, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So how does that sound, John?
Sounds awesome. Let's do this.
Well, he's gone to awesome, folks. It's howdy, and then he's gone to awesome. But before we start, folks, we've got some sad news connected to a real member of the WordPress community. So would you like to say something about that, John?
Certainly would. We just found out about this today. One of our past guests and definitely like one of our friends in the WordPress community, Bridget Willard, who's the marketing manager, communications director over at WordPress. She just lost her husband of 23 years today. And the community put up a page. They're taking donations to help her pay for funeral services. And it would mean a lot to me if you would go ahead and visit that page over at willardfund.org. That's WILLARD fund.org. And just give what you can to help her out. She's a really awesome person.
And we're going to make sure that's in the show notes on the WP-Tonic website, folks. So if you go to the show on the website, the link will be there. And my thoughts and prayers goes to Bridget. She's a great lady. Right? So we're going to delve into membership plugins. So it's a bit like last week, folks. We've got a bit of a list, and I'm going to be totally honest here. I got some of this off Chris Lemma's website. He's the king of plugin membership plugin reviews, isn't he, John?
Yeah, there's an awesome post. If you go to chrislemma.com/best WordPress membership plugin 2015, he reviewed 30 plugins and rated them all by various criteria.
I don't know where he gets the time from. Do you, John?
Yeah.
Right. So let's delve in. So we're going to go into some of the main things that you got to think about choosing your plugin, and then I've got some recommendations. They're not exhaustive because we'll be here all day, but they're ones that I've either used or have been highly recommended. So let's start off with this, John. So let's talk about ease of use, speed to configure. What you got to say about that, John?
Well, definitely, ease of use is like a major consideration when you're setting up a membership site. There's definitely a balance that needs to be struck between, how much functionality you want to have, but most of the time you want to get it up and running. And there's definitely ones that are easier. And there's definitely ones that are going to take more time.
Yeah, that's so true, John. But it's a balance because obviously the ones that offer a lot of additional functionality, they're going to have more configuration, aren't they, John?
Yeah, and yeah, that's a logical reach. There's definitely ones that are very powerful, but they're going to take, you're not going to be able to set them up in an afternoon.
No, definitely not. So it's just you need to look at and make a decision what key functionality you really need and what you don't, and that will have a direct result about how easy it is going to be set up. And then on to the next one, number 2, multiple concurrent accounts. What you got to say about that, John?
So concurrent subscriptions is definitely a limitation in some membership plugins. So what that means is basically, can a person have more than one subscription at the same time? Can they be subscribed to 2 different membership levels? And definitely there's some use cases where that's going to be a deciding factor.
Yeah, the ones we're going to be talking about after these list of major criteria, folks, the one I use a lot can't actually do this. So it definitely wouldn't be the right choice. Next one, number 3, payment gateway support. This can be a tricky one, can't it, John?
Certainly can. So pretty much every one of these supports PayPal out of the box. That's kind of a given, but there's going to be most cases you're going to want to support some sort of credit card payment. And sometimes you're going to want to support a more obscure payment gateway or more diverse types of payment gateways. Now, a lot of these membership plugins support Stripe, but sometimes you're going to need to support other gateways as well. So
great stuff. Number 4, drip content. What you got to say about that, John?
Sure. Okay, so for those listening at home, if you want to understand what drip content is, that's basically where you let the content out a little bit at a time. And the reason you might want to do that is, say somebody signs up for your membership and they pay their money and you give them all the goodies all at once. There are some nefarious people out there that will, download all the goods, and then, 2 days later, they're going to ask for their money back. But they've got, everything that you have to give. So with drip content, you can just dole that out a little bit at a time, and then that way you're going to avoid situations like that. So
yeah, it can be really important. Number 5, e-commerce support. This is another biggie, isn't it, John?
Yeah, definitely. So e-commerce sites there's always lots of moving parts. Anytime that you're setting up, anytime that you're taking money in exchange for goods, like on your site. So the level of support that these plugins offer is usually directly proportional to how much they're charging you to use their plugin, and sometimes like how long they've been in the WordPress community as well. So a lot of times, like a premium plugin is going to offer a higher level of support, and when you're trying to configure something very complicated, that's going to be invaluable.
And then I'd like to point out, folks, some of the ones we're going to be talking about do not support e-commerce, and there are some really good options. Now, what I mean by e-commerce, it can either be digital products or physical products, ability to have a real shopping cart, and to include taxation and shipping costs. Some of these memberships are not designed for that. So choosing the right one is pretty important on day one if you're going to offer e-commerce. So on to number 6, John, upgrades and downgrades.
Yeah, so a lot of the times memberships are going to have tiers. Like there's going to be a lower tier where you have access to, a certain amount of stuff, and then maybe a middle tier where you get access to more stuff, and maybe like a top tier where you get access to everything. But because these are usually at different price points, people, want to have the ability to go upward easily, and then maybe downgrade their membership easily to, fit their financial situation, or, how much they want to, give to your site. So that's an important factor as well. How easy is it for you as a site administrator to make those, changes happen automatically? And how easy is it for the user to get that done, like upgrade and downgrade their membership?
You just got to make it really clear, and it really depends on what kind of membership site you're running, because it's a broad statement, folks. Memberships, there's all types of membership and scenarios, so you really got to think, do I need a plugin that can support that, or am I not, or don't I need to offer that? Number 7, prorating and pausing. What do you say about that, John?
Okay, yes. So most memberships, they go like month to month. So say if you start on a certain day of the month, you're going to get rebilled. But there's times where you might want to only, be billed for part of the month, and not every plugin supports that. Then again, there's times where you might want to pause your membership for a month or 3 months, and pick it back up later. And a really robust membership solution will give you the ability to do that. And, so that is a factor. Like, are you going to need that for your membership site?
And I think it's very similar to upgrading and downgrades, isn't it, John? There are like, there's a couple of plugins that I've used extensively that can't do that, but I've used them in scenarios where that wasn't required. So it's really working out, do you need that kind of functionality, isn't it, John?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to figuring out what kind of, doing a needs assessment and figuring out like what you need. And then once you have that, kind of list of what you're going to require the site to do, you can look at like all, your choices of plugins, and the choices become a little bit more crystallized and clear.
Yeah. And number 8, other features and nice to haves. Has anything come to mind that you think somebody looking to start their first membership site should need that we haven't covered so far, John?
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about this?
I think, this integration, with Stripe or Authorize.net or whatever gateway provider, and PayPal can, folks, I'm a bit jaded because I didn't tell John this, but I've been dealing with the PayPal API all this morning and most of this afternoon, John. And to say the documentation is a mess would be understatement. And I'm not talking about their old API. I'm talking about the new one, John. I've got a slight headache, John. I'm slightly shell-shocked. Can you understand that, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of developers would definitely agree with your, your sentiment there.
I've never seen documentation around API that's such a dog's breath, folks. I think I'm getting somewhere, but I'm reasonably used to reading technical documentation, folks, and APIs. But yeah, it was a bit out of my thing. So let's get back onto subject. I call it the Chris Lemma effect. Obviously, I took a lot of this from Chris Lemma's site, and he dominates it, John. He's put an enormous amount of work on it. What's your assessment? Chris is a great guy and a great member of the WordPress community, but he seems to have totally dominated this for the better or good. What's your impression about his assessments? Do you think it's reasonably logical and fair?
Well, I think I looked at most of the ones on this list, and I haven't used like all 30 of these, but I've used like a good chunk of these. And the ones that I have used, I mean, I pretty much agree. I think I would say like restrict content pro is like a little bit low, because I think he rated that a 3.3. And I think that mostly has to do with the fact that you can't do like concurrent memberships. It's gotten a lot more robust with payment gateways, and there's like plenty of add-ons that go with this. But like everything else on this list, I'm pretty much in agreement with.
Right, that's great. So I think we've gone through the main points, and then we'll be talking about, we're basically going to go for our break, folks. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about some of the specific plugins that I've used or been highly recommended, and we're going to have a quick chat about that. See you soon, folks. We're coming back from our break. We're talking all about membership plugins with my great co-host, John Locke. So, John, we're going to start off. This isn't an extensive list. It's just some that I've worked with and through our discussions are highly recommended. Then let's start with one that I have used extensively, Paid Membership Pro. Have you used that one, John?
Yeah, not in a while. But I have used this like early on, and it's decent.
Yeah, basically one of its strengths, folks, is you can get almost all the functionality free, but don't delude yourself. There's a lot of additional plugins, and if you need access to those plugins, you got to pay for full membership, which gives you full access to their forums, great email support, and a list of extra plugins that bolt into the main plugin. But as if you don't need some of the bells and whistles, that if you don't need upgrades and downgrades, you don't need prorating or pausing. If one of its slight weaknesses, folks, is the additional plugin that deals with drip content isn't as robust a solution as some of the other plugins we're going to be talking about. But if you want just looking for really well-coded, basic membership plugin, you could do a lot worse than Paid Membership Pro. What do you think about that, John? Do you think I've been reasonably fair in what I've just said?
No, that's a pretty good assessment. There's you can get the free plugin. It's pretty basic. You can pay $97 for the kind of the middle tier of this plugin, but to get all the goodies and all the add-ons, you got to pay $197 a year. And there are a lot of add-ons, but again, drip content, maybe not the best with this. But I mean, this is a good, solid choice. It's maybe not the best on this list, but you could do a lot worse.
Yeah. The other thing I'd like to point out, he does have a long list of gateway providers that are supported, but it's not as extensive as some of the other plugins that we're probably going to be talking about. So, and you do either have to pay, I don't know, either the 99 or the 197 level, you get access to all the additional plugins connected to the gateway providers that they do support, but you need to check the documentation if you're using a slightly more obscure gateway provider. Let's go on to the next one. One I haven't used, but it's highly recommended by a lot of people that I respect, and that's MemberPress. Have you actually used it yourself, John?
I have used it, and to be honest, it is a little confusing. I know that some other people on our panel are more familiar with this. I do have like a developer's license for this. This is one of those ones that it's very powerful, and you can do probably most anything with, but this is one that you need to spend a lot of time configuring.
Yeah, it's got a lot of screens, has it, and a lot of choices.
It's got a lot of screens. Yeah.
What was your impression after what was you impressed with the support for did you ever have to use the email support, and did you ever have a look at any of the code? What was your general impressions about it, John?
Well, the code is like solid. I mean, it's definitely well supported. It's solid code. It's not spaghetti code. There's definitely support there. The forums are pretty good. And the email support is pretty quick. They usually get back to you, within, the next day. So I have no complaints about the support.
So you would agree with John Lehman and what a lot of people, it's a pretty solid choice if you need the kind of functionality and power that it's offering.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those plugins where it does most anything. It has payment gateway support for PayPal, Authorize, and Stripe. You have dripped content. Ecommerce support is there. So. Oh,
is it? Ecommerce support is there?
I think so. I believe so. Don't quote me, but I think so.
I think we have to clarify that in the notes because I'm not too sure about that myself. Let's go on to another one that's been around a long time. It's got a lot of users. I used it about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, for a very big project that I was doing with a team where we were integrating it with a forum software as well. And that's Wishlist Member. Have you ever used this one at all, John?
Wishlist Member. I had somebody that was using this. They're not using it anymore. Yeah, this is it's okay, and maybe there's a reason like that the person I know is not using this anymore. It's okay. What's your experience?
Well, it was fine, but it was the one that would work with the forum software. It has a bit like what we were saying about MemberPress. When I was using it, very powerful, had a lot of screens and a lot of configuration. It was one of the most complicated plugins that we had to set up for quite a long time. And working out all the permissions and getting it to work with the forum software. I think it was Simple Press forum software. Yeah, it was a bit of a job. And there was a lot of project creep involved with this particular job. It's not the cheapest either, folks. It starts for a single site license at $197, and then the multi-site goes up to $297, John. So you really, you really need to look at it compared maybe to MemberPress and really work out, is this necessary and does it offer the kind of functionality that I really need? I know it supports a ton of gateways. Its gateway support is, to say substantial would be an understatement, John.
I think that's probably one of its greatest strengths. It doesn't have much for like Ecommerce support or and concurrent accounts. So it does what it does pretty well, but if you're looking for like a utility like membership plugin, this might not be the best choice.
Yeah, so solid, but there's maybe something better out there if you don't need a precise functionality it's offering. Another one that's in a similar vein, I only used it once, not so well known, but it's massive with tons of additional functionality, is Digital Access Pass. Ever you heard of that or used that, John?
I have heard of it, but it might be a little bit before my time. I know a lot of people that we were talking to the other day are familiar with this. I have never used this one. What's your experience with this?
It was a couple of years ago again. Time has flown actually, because I've been involved in a SaaS and maintenance company. It's a development based in India. It's a man and woman kind of partnership. I think they're married, and I'm not sure if they've got other people in the team. Been around a long time. Very popular with some podcasters who were doing e-commerce. Had masses of functionality, great extensive documentation, quite very well written, but it is not for the light-hearted, John, unless you need gateway support or very light wish list. You're looking for some specific functionality that some of the other plugins don't offer. I think it also has its own e-commerce modulars, but I would have to double check that. But yeah, it is a massive, extensive plugin, John.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading. Is it's another one like MemberPress, but maybe even like a little bit more with the screens, like having to set it up. It's going to take a minute. It does look like it, and this one does have drip content support, and it supports concurrent accounts. And it does have like e-commerce support, but other ones that are on this list, like perhaps like iThemes Exchange or MemberPress, I should say, would be a better choice if you're looking for e-commerce support. But it does have a module for that as well.
Yeah, it's got literally a module. When I was looking at it, folks, it had a module literally for everything. But it's not for the light-hearted. I don't think if you're just a newbie and you're just looking to set up a basic membership, it's probably not the right choice, but that's just my opinion. You probably need a developer to help you with this, or somebody that's got some extensive WordPress knowledge. On to e-commerce, folks. Because a lot of the ones I've got modules, but got free. I'm going to start off. If you're just looking, you're just selling digital products. I would, if that is the case, definitely look at this one, Easy Digital Downloads. Pippin Williamson's team, he developed it with his team. It's got a load of additional plugins. It comes free, but there's a lot. The functionality that you will need is you charge for by additional micro plugins. But if you're in just the digital download field, and it integrates with his own membership plugin, it definitely is something you should look at. What do you think, John?
Yeah, definitely. Now Pippin, he has a well-known ones are Easy Digital Downloads and Restrict Content Pro. Restrict Content Pro is the membership plugin. There's subscription levels where people can either pay for it there. You can add them manually, but it is like tiered levels, like they stack on top of each other. It does integrate with Easy Digital Downloads to where if you put them together, you can put it together to have like a complete e-commerce solution with that. And maybe that's the point. There are plugins for developers to kind of like build things on top of them. So
it's got a lot of filters and actions and lovely, well coded up, and Pippin offers a lot of support. But I don't think it's necessary. You're probably going to need a developer to help you out here, folks, or you've got a lot of spare time. Here's another solution that's probably, if you're up for it, you probably won't need a developer. I don't know. I'm going to see what John says. Is iThemes Exchange, because I've never used it, but a lot of people really like it, and it offers fully, not extensive as the last one we're going to talk about, but if you don't need every bell and whistle, but you need something powerful that can do e-commerce, it's probably something you should look at. What do you think, John?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one that not only does membership, but it has like full e-commerce support, and it has multiple concurrent accounts. So if you and also like the UI in the back is it's easy to use. Things are easy to set up. I think if I was going to set up like a complicated membership site, this would probably be one that I would want to take a serious look at.
Definitely.
So,
and I went to the website. They seemed, I might be wrong with this price. I will double check, and it will be the right price. But it looked like $197, which isn't bad because you're getting a lot of stuff for $197, aren't you?
yeah, that's true. I think it's like you can get their whole pack for, I think it's like either like 197 or 297. It's like all access to like all their main stuff like Backup Buddy and all that too. So that's a heck of a good bargain. I mean, if you really think of, if you do this for a living, or even if you just run your own site, it's just one site, that's pretty much like everything you need. So
let's finish off the big kind of daddy WooCommerce. And now seemingly, if you're going to go down the WooCommerce, I know some of the other plugins, I need to clarify if they will work for WooCommerce, but WooCommerce comes in two parts if you're going down this road. WooCommerce membership, which is from $149 to $299, folks. And then WooCommerce subscription, $199 to $399. Plus, you've got extensive library of third-party extension plugins, as I would micro plugins. This, how would you judge that if a client came to you, John, that you're really going to need to go down this road?
Well, I mean, if e-commerce if you're wanting to do like e-commerce and memberships, I mean, this is definitely not the worst solution. The beautiful thing about WooCommerce is it is like probably one of the most extensible plugins in the whole WordPress ecosystem. And you can do just about anything with with enough extensions. It's a huge ecosystem like by itself. So it depends, and again, it's like looking at what your needs are, because if you're setting up WooCommerce and you're setting up the memberships, and you're probably going to have to buy like a gateway plugin as well. It's just looking at like what the costs are going to be for the year.
Yeah, well, the way I would put it, folks, just to finish off, if you looked at iThemes, and it just wasn't iThemes Exchange, and it just wasn't offering the flexibility that you really needed for your business solution, for your business model, you probably are going to have to look at WooCommerce, because the amount of third-party plugins that are available are large and cover most bases, and there's a lot to e-commerce. And when you combine it to membership, you're dealing with two quite complex things depending on your business model. So if it's a complex business model with various options that you really require, you're probably then best to look at the WooCommerce solution. Would you agree with that synopsis, John?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with the WooCommerce memberships. Like you can drip content like after somebody's been a member for a certain amount of time. You can turn your store into a purchasing club, and you can reward certain members with special discounts. There's a lot of different things that you can do with this. And like I said, it depends. Like if you're looking for an all-around flexible solution, kind of like the three that are up there are the WooCommerce memberships, iTheme Exchange, and MemberPress. And it's just a matter of what your specific needs are for your particular site.
Good roundup. So we're coming to the end of the show. So how can people get hold of you, John?
Well, people can always get a hold of me on my site. It's lockdowndesign.com, silent E after the lock. You can follow me on Twitter. It's lockdown_, or you can email me, john@lockdowndesign.com. So tell people how they can get a hold of you, Jonathan.
I'm pretty easy to find on the internet. Just put my name in, Jonathan Denwood. Unfortunately, I've got an unusual surname. Or Jonathan Denwood at Jonathan Denwood. I'm around on Twitter. Or just email me at jonathan@wp-tonic.com. I do answer my email, and I answer it all myself. Thanks for listening, folks. I think we've covered an enormous amount of content in this show. Next week, we got a guest. I'm not going to announce it, but we're going to have a guest, and it should be great fun. He's going to have some great insights. It's going to be our first guest with John as my co-host, so we're looking forward to that. And do remember, we do our live WP-Tonic show every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we have a panel of WordPress experts, and we just have a good old chat about WordPress, don't we, John?
Yeah, usually we hit the news for a few minutes, and then we talk about the topic of the day, and then we do site review. Some of the other panel members that we usually see in there, Kim Shivler, Sally Getch, Jackie Dahlia,
Russell,
David Leetta.
Russell, and one day Moulton will join us. He still keeps saying he's going to join us. So that's great, folks. See you next week. Say goodbye, John.
See ya.
See ya, folks.